Hey guys, David Glenn of davidglennrecording.com and theproaudiofiles.com. I've got another one on mixing bass. Now I'm going to kind of treat this as an update to my mixing bass tutorial that I've already released. Had a gospel bass that I pulled in and walked you through kind of start to finish. I'm just going to kind of do an update and show you how I'm still kind of using the same techniques. And then I've got a couple of things that I'm doing differently. So let's jump right in. This is once again the song Until I Have You from Dasha Moore. Dasha, gosh, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Forgive me, guys. But the same, pretty much the same concept applies for me. I start with the bass DI. In this case, it was a keyed bass. It was a virtual instrument, probably massive or something like that. But I've got the Studer on it, and I'm going to walk through every single one of these. But I got the Studer pulled up, very basic, just a bass preset. I left the noise on. Turn that off. Anyways, moving on. I used Alloy for some saturation. Now I did a multiband saturation with it, with the iZotope Alloy 2. And I applied different saturation to the low subs, 200 and below, than I did to the 200 and above. And you can see that there. Play with that. Great plugin if you have it. And treated it with a little bit of compression. I used the gray, the silver from UAD. And you see that's probably just knocking down a couple. Let's pull it over here. No, it's not pulling on a couple. It's slamming it. But it sounded good. I left it there. Moving on, I have the same compressor over on the bass amp, which is kind of weird because I usually go for the gray when it comes to bass and pretty much everything. But moving on. Not really going to walk you through like I did in the other video, but just kind of showing you a quick peek. This is Sans Amp. I'm driving it a little bit to kind of blend some of that in, give it a little bit of character to bring in, boost the mids, yada yada, give it a shot. What I really want to show you is, I can even put the parallel compression down. I've showed that in the other video pretty well. The bass level track, I've got this. Use this sometimes because I'll play with the mix knob, but let's put that over there. We got RBass. Now, Dave Pensado on the recent ITL, I think he used RBass on a kick, and he kind of mentioned he uses an app. Well, I did a training course called the Mix Series. You can go check that out at davidglennrecording.com, and it's got like, I can't even remember how many hours of training. It's got my Pro Tools templates and walkthrough of all my strategies and how I approach a mix, and helps you get through the rough mix stage. But I do this. I show you a little bit about how I'm using an app called Producers Tools, iPhone and Android compatible. And what I do is I go to my guitar, I listen to the song, I figure out what key it's in, and I find a note that resonates well at the chorus of the song or just consistently throughout the song. I can't remember what this song was, but yeah, let's go ahead and do it together. So if I hit play. Cool. And so I'm hearing that that C, the note C, is resonating well with throughout the whole progression. So what I do is I go over here to my app as my accent changes, goofball, and I'm pulling open Producer Tools, and I go to the frequency translator. And so the first note up is C, but you can cycle through. You can find the note that you want to use, and then it'll tell you octave 0 is 16.35 hertz for C, octave 1, 32.7, and then you've got octave 2, 65.41, and so on. So what I do for bass guitar is I find that for me it works really well. Usually octave 1 or octave 2 will work to use RBass, and that's the frequency I'll plug in and generate the added correct me if I'm wrong, but the added harmonics, the extra oomph to it. So for octave 2 at C, this is 65.41, and look at that, I've got 65 selected. RBass rounds it down. And that's what I did to bring it in. So let's hear it before and after. You guys are probably familiar with RBass, but I'll play it before and after. Let's solo the bass so we can hear it. Yeah, so again, it's a bass tutorial dealing with the subs. If you're listening on a phone or the laptop, you're not going to hear that. So my apologies. But if you are listening on monitors, some good headphones, you're going to hear the fullness that RBass just completely generates for us. It sounds beautiful. It sounds big. And I use it on pretty much every mix that I'm doing bass guitar on, and then it just depends on what intensity. Sometimes I'll automate the intensity so that it can gradually build into the chorus and then be super full. But that's a great tool to have. The other thing that I'm doing, nothing earth-shattering about this one, but for me, I've got a stereo aux for both my parallel compression and my level that I'm using here. And the reason that is because I used to use the Slate's FG Mu compressor for bass, for my parallel compression chain, and that is only stereo. They don't have a mono version of it. So I set it up as a stereo, and then what I would do is I would come in here and I would take and just make, say, the 200 below, or a lot of times it's just the subs, and I'll make that mono. And so with the iZotope Ozone 5 stereo imager, you can pull that down and make whichever frequency band you want, the wider or more focused and central to the middle. So that's what I'm doing with the bass there a lot of times. With synth bass, what I would do is, this is a keyed bass, but with synth bass, with some grit to it, a lot of times I'll push the uppers, mids, and the highs wide. It gets a nice crazy sound for it. Automate that on and off depending upon where you want it. The hook is always fun. Hey guys, thanks for bearing with me as I ramble on this one, but hopefully you find some good stuff in there, some useful techniques with the RBass and the fundamental frequency and all that stuff. But feel free to message me, David at davidglennrecording.com, and my site is davidglennrecording.com. Great stuff over there, free content. There's a free training course that should be available right now. If not, shoot me an email and I'll send that to you. And then also the proaudiofiles.com, incredible content over there, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again.